Microsoft Graph exposes REST APIs and libraries to access data and resources from Microsoft Cloud services. In this session, we'll create a Microsoft Entra ID, also known as Azure Active Directory, create a few groups, and query them using Microsoft Graph Explorer. Microsoft Graph Explorer is a web-based tool that lets developers and users interact with Microsoft Graph APIs. You don't need to log in to interact with the endpoints, as you can explore data from the demo environment. Our example is to query all Entra ID groups. So let's explore endpoint documentation. Click here, Read Documentation. A new web browser opens and we'll navigate to Groups, Group, and List Groups node. Here we can see the permissions required to access list groups endpoint. And further down, we have the query parameters. We'll go back and try to select query parameter to list only the ID and the name of the groups. Now, continuing with our example, we'll go to Azure portal. I will sign in with my account, but you can easily create an Azure free account if you don't have one. Here is my test Azure portal, and I will proceed with creating a new tenant. So go to Marketplace. Here search for Azure Active Directory. And click on it. We are creating a new tenant for a test organization. Tenant type will be Azure Active Directory. Next, configuration. Here I will write my test organization name and its domain name. So basically, as you probably have guessed, a tenant represents an organization, or it can also represent a developer's place for applications. This create operation might take a couple of seconds, so you have to be patient. After adding a tenant, we'll create a subscription. So here click Add. And it is very important that on Advanced we select Subscription Directory, the previous directory we've created. We can review and create the new subscription. Once subscription is created, we can go to Users icon and switch to the test directory we've initially created. Here we are in my Azure AD tenant test directory. We'll go to Azure Active Directory. Azure AD is a cloud-based identity and access management service. And we want to add a user and assign global administrator role to the user. Navigate to Users. And we'll create a new admin user. On the new user page, we'll provide the new user's information. We'll generate our own password. Create and review. Once the admin user is created, we can click on the admin user and go to Assigned Roles. Add assignment and select Global Administrator role for our user. Click Refresh to see the role added. And now we can go back to Graph Explorer. Here we will sign in with our newly created administrator user. We'll consent the permissions requested by Graph Explorer and run the endpoint. As you can see here, we are missing some privileges to query our test organization groups. So click on user icon and consent to permissions. Navigate to groups. Find group read write all and click consent. This is the most privileged for our endpoint group permission. We can go back and rerun the query. The request response status is 200 OK, but we don't have any groups for our test tenant. We'll go back to Azure portal in Azure Active Directory, navigate to groups, and add 3 groups for our test example. Here we selected the group type security, but we can also select the Microsoft 385 group type. Our 3 groups are created, so we can go back to Graph Explorer, rerun the query. As you can see here in the response body, those are the 3 groups which were created for the test tenant. And there you have it. You've successfully learned how to interact with Microsoft Graph API using Graph Explorer. My aim is to keep my video short and offer an efficient learning experience. So, thanks for watching.